Hi there guys, today I'm going to write a simple program to show you how to take an integer number from a user and break it down into its factors. So as you can see, I have 120 already down here from when I had the program already written, and I broke it into its factors 2, 2, 2, 3, and 5. So let's go ahead and dive into writing this program. The first thing we need to do is think on how we're going to do this. The first thing we need to do is define our variables, and you got to think, what are we going to store whatever the user enters into? Well, we need an integer placeholder, so we're going to do int num, which you can name it whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to use. And then the other thing is, we got to think of how exactly are we going to accomplish the task of finding the factors. And the best thing to find if a number is divisible by another number is using the remainder operator. Simply put, when a remainder operator equals 0, it means there's no remainder, so it was actually divisible. So for example, 120 remainder operator of 2 equals 0, meaning it was divisible by 2, which is 60, and so on and so on. So we're going to go ahead and, now that we know that, we know what we're going to use, but how are we going to do it? Since there's more than one factor for each number, for most numbers anyways, we're going to have to do some sort of loop. So for that loop, we're going to need a count. And being that all numbers are divisible by 1, we don't want to start this count at 1, so we're going to start it at 2. So there we go. Now the next thing we need to do in this program is we actually need to prompt the user to input something. So we're going to do system.out.print, and we're going to tell the user to enter. Enter an integer to find the factors, to find its factors. I like to do the space there just for formatting issues. Whoops. Gotta love the num lock. Anyways, now we gotta input it. And sorry, I forgot one thing here. We have to, now that we've imported our scanner, we actually have to define it first. So let's go ahead and do scanner scanner input equals new scanner system.in. We're good there. Just finish it off with semicolons. Go ahead and put a space there. We're good there. Alright, now we can actually input num. So we're going to store it in num. So we're going to do num equals input dot next. We're going to do int since we're trying to get the integer number from them. Okay. Now that we have that, before we get into our loop, I also want to print something else to the screen, and that's the factors of that number before we start adjusting that number. So I'm going to do one more system print, and this time I'm actually going to use a printf statement, and I'll show you why in just a sec. I like the printf statement. You can use something else if you want to. I like the printf simply because it has the placeholder, so you know what the sentence is going to look like without having to think about it at all. So the factors of %d is our placeholder since we're doing integer math are, and we're not going to put a space here because I'm going to do the space a little bit later since we have to have a space between each number. And then we also have to have what variable we're putting there, and in this case it's num. And the reason this works is because it's before our loop, before we start doing anything to number. So that way if we enter 120 into it, you're going to get 120 here. So now that we got that, we can go ahead and dive into our loop. We're going to use a while loop here. And for a conditional, you got to think, how do you want to kick out of this conditional? Well, the best way, simply put, the best way to find out when we're going to kick out of it is when a number is not divisible. When, say, you have 5 and 5, when you increase that, the counter on that is going to be 5 divided by 6. Well, that's less than 1, so we know we've gone as far as we can. So we're going to go ahead and do num is divided by count is greater than or equal to 1. So simply put, if it's greater than or equal to 1, we know we haven't found all the factors yet. Alright, let's go ahead and comment on this. Okay, there we go. Now inside here, we need something else. I'm going to show you, we need something else, and I'm going to use an if statement. If else, actually. But for what do we want the statement for this if statement to be? And simply put, I'm going to do num remainder operator count. So in other words, this is going to evaluate true if it is 0. That way we know that that number is divisible by count. Let's go ahead and put the brackets. Okay. So, what do we do when it's divisible by that number? Well, we got to actually print it to the screen. Because remember, we're still on this line right here. So since we're still on that line, we're going to print just a space after that. So we're going to do system.out.print like I said, I like using the printfs, and that's just my personal taste. And we're going to do a space since we need a space between that, and we need a space between each number, as you can see right here. Otherwise, things start getting compressed, and it looks like all one number. Now I need my placeholder, which is %d, comma, and what variable am I going to have there? Well, that variable is going to be count, because that's what we're dividing by. That's how we're going to know if that's a factor or not. Okay, next thing we need is we actually need to make numbers smaller. So we're going to go ahead and do the division math for us. So we're going to do num divided by equals count. Simply put, that is saying num equals num divided by count. It's just a little shorter way of writing it. So now that we have that, now we're done with our if statement. That's all we need to do in it. Now we're in our else. Now if we hit our else, it means it wasn't divisible. So what do we need to do? The only thing we need to do is increase counter. So from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and so on and so on. So we can keep getting all the numbers. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do count plus plus. Whoops, that's equal. So let's do plus plus. There we go. And that's that. So let's go ahead and run this program now and make sure it works. That should be everything as far as I can see. So let's clear this out. Actually, I don't need to clear it. It'll clear it on its own. You'll be able to see since I have to enter a number. Okay, hold on. I had one error. And that's because I misspelled that. Spelling is essential, apparently. So let's go ahead and run it now. There we go. And it's working. Let's go ahead and do 120 again since we know what the output's already going to be, as long as it functions right. And there we are. 2, 2, 3, and 5. Sorry, 2, 2, 2, 3, and 5. So let's go ahead and run it again with the number and see what it runs to. Let's try 1,800. Let's do 65. So that way we know it's not divisible by 2. And it's 5 and 373. Alright, well guys, I hope that helped you out a little bit. Anyways, enjoy, and I look forward to reading your guys' comment if you leave any. Talk to you later.